Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for joining Holy Trinity Catholic Church in Washington, D.C., and St. Ignatius of Loyola in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, for our joint program honoring the World Day of Migrants and Refugees.
Muy buenas tardes tengan todos ustedes, sean bienvenidos a este esfuerzo entre la Iglesia de la Santísima Trinidad y San Ignacio de Loyola para celebrar el Día Mundial del Inmigrante y del Refugiado.
Please take a moment to mute yourself.
Le pedimos que por favor se tomen un momentito para que se puedan poner en mute.
My name is Margie Legowski from Holy Trinity's Migrant Team, and I'm joined today by Rita Rodriguez from St. Ignatius and Ashley Click from Holy Trinity.
Okay.
You will meet others. Sorry, go ahead.
Mi nombre es Maggie Legowski de la Santísima Trinidad y estoy junto con Rita Rodríguez liderando este encuentro con ustedes.
You will meet others on our respective migrant teams and from migrant serving organizations as we move through the program.
Van a recibir también, van a encontrarse y vamos a estar junto con otros equipos de migrantes durante este encuentro que tenemos hoy aquí.
We are especially grateful today to have Elena Alfonso, Hermana Crista, Catlena Para, y Mario Fernandez providing translation, and to Ashley for her wisdom and technical expertise.
Bueno, están muy agradecidos por la traducción de esta servidora, de la hermanita Crista Parra, de Catlena y de Mario, que están a cargo también del equipo tecnológico, de manera de que podamos hacer este evento una realidad.
We are offering today's session in two parts. Part one will last for about an hour and will be in Spanish and English. It's an opportunity. Go ahead.
Vamos a tener el evento en dos partes. Vamos a tener la primera parte que va a estar a lo largo de una hora.
It's an opportunity to pray with and learn from those who study, work with, or live the experience of migrants and refugees globally and at our southern border.
Esa es una experiencia donde nosotros, con las personas que estudian, están con las personas que están en las fronteras y ellos van a dar su testimonio.
And we will close part one with a prayer and take a 5-minute break till we start part two.
Vamos a tomar, después de la oración final de esta primera parte, vamos a tomar un tiempo de descanso por 5 minutos.
Part two will look at how Holy Trinity and St. Ignatius are accompanying refugees and migrants, and more importantly, how you can get involved. And this part will be in English and led by each parish's migrant team leaders.
Esta segunda parte van a estar los líderes de las parroquias de San Ignacio y la Santísima Trinidad. Va a ser en inglés. Y es donde los líderes de estas partes van a hablar sobre cómo ellos están participando en ayudar a los migrantes y a los refugiados y cómo tú te puedes involucrar en esos esfuerzos.
You will see that from the agenda that you're looking at, we're starting with the big picture, going down to look at the border and specific situations in Ciudad Juárez, which is in Mexico across from El Paso. We'll hear some more voices of migrants from Nicaragua and from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And then we'll have our closing prayer and move into part two.
Exactly.
You can see the Spanish translation on the right. Our sincere hope that as a result of today's program, you will be able to put at least one face on a place and issue, and that you will feel moved to serve, accompany, or advocate on their behalf and the behalf of so many others.
Entonces, vamos a tener una primera parte donde vamos a empezar por lo más grande y vamos a ir poco a poco como bajando el punto de vista donde vamos a ver lo que está pasando en la frontera sur de los Estados Unidos con Ciudad Juárez y vamos a hablar de las voces de la frontera, con Nicaragua, y también vamos a ver lo que está pasando en la frontera, en el Congo, o sea, de los refugiados que están en el Congo. Okay, go ahead.
We know that you'll have questions as we move along, and we will pause periodically for them. Please type your questions in the chat section, and Ashley will periodically pause to read them, and we will ask our speakers to answer them.
Y sabemos que todos ustedes tienen preguntas y les pedimos que por favor pongan, y periódicamente vamos a parar por ellas, pues para responder estas preguntas. Escríbanlas por favor en el chat, de manera de que la monitora pueda seleccionar, Ashley pueda seleccionar cuáles son las preguntas. Ella va a seleccionar de manera que sean todas las preguntas unidas para poder responderlas y poderles dar las respuestas de lo que estamos hablando.
Thank you, Elena. And now it's time for us to begin. Rita, can you lead us in prayer, please?
Today's opening and closing prayers were selected from Pope Francis' message for today, the 106th celebration of the World Day of Migrants and Refugees. Let us enter into silence and put ourselves in the presence of the Lord. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. During the flight into Egypt, the child Jesus experienced with his parents the tragic fate of the displaced and refugees, which is marked by fear, uncertainty, and unease. Unfortunately, in our own times, millions of families can identify with this sad reality. Almost every day, we see refugees fleeing from hunger, war, and other grave dangers in search of security and a dignified life for themselves and for their families. In each of these people forced to flee to safety, Jesus is present as he was at the time of Herod, in the faces of the hungry, the thirsty, the naked, the sick, strangers and prisoners. We are called to see the face of Christ who pleads with us to help. If we can recognize him in those faces, we will be the ones to thank him for having been able to meet, love, and serve him in them. As we gather today, we ask him for this grace. Amen.
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 Now, it is my pleasure to welcome Caitlin Marie Ward, Senior Advisor of Migration for the Jesuit Office of Justice and Ecology. Caitlin Marie is also a parishioner of Holy Trinity and a supporter of the Holy Trinity migrant team. As Ashley said, please type questions in the chat. And now we welcome Caitlin Marie.
Muy bien. Rita está introduciendo en este momento a Caitlin Marie, que nos va a dar una exposición. Ella es feligrés de la Santísima Trinidad en Washington, y queremos darle la bienvenida a Caitlin en este momento.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you to Holy Trinity and St. Ignatius for inviting me to speak today. As Margie said, I'm going to be giving an overview of the context of migration policy in the United States.
Okay, ella agradece su intervención aquí y ella nos va a dar cuáles son las políticas de migración aquí en los Estados Unidos en este momento.
Okay, so first, actually, let me see. I wanted to share my screen. I don't know if Ashley, you're able to enable me to share my screen, just to give some visuals. Okay.
Está pidiendo que le... Para poner...
You should be able to now, Caitlin Marie.
Okay.
Yep. Everyone can see my screen now?
Sí. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Okay, so first I just wanted to start with an explanation about what's the difference between an asylum seeker and a refugee, because these are talked about with a lot of frequency, but there's an important distinction between the two of them.
Ella quiere hacer una distinción en este momento de lo que es un refugiado y una persona que busca asilo, porque en los Estados Unidos hay una diferencia.
So an asylum seeker is an individual whose final status has not yet been determined by the country in which he or she has submitted a claim. So these would be individuals that would be arriving, for example, at the southwest border that we're hearing a lot about in the media these days.
Sí, los que buscan asilo son aquellos que todavía no tienen su estatus definitivo para ser determinado en el país donde ellos han pedido ese estatus. Es gente que está en este momento llegando a la frontera suroeste de los Estados Unidos, pidiendo.
Sorry.
No, no problem.
So a refugee is someone who has fled from their country of origin and is unable or is unwilling to return because of a well-founded fear of persecution, and they have a recognized status as a refugee once they have been resettled. So if we're thinking of refugees coming to the United States, then they would be individuals who have already been recognized by the United States as having a legal status as a refugee.
Sí, refugiado, la distinción es que es aquella persona que ya ha sido reconocido como alguien que tiene que salir de su país. Los Estados Unidos reconoce y le ha dado un estatus definitivo y que ellos tienen que salir del país. Ellos llegan por aeropuertos y ellos no tienen opción para regresar a sus países. Y ellos pueden ser incluso restablecidos en un tercer país.
Yes. So, in other words, an asylum seeker is looking to obtain refugee status. Now, in order to obtain refugee status, you've got to qualify, and the law is very specific about what are the conditions under which a person qualifies for refugee status. You must be a person who has fled their country of origin and is unable or unwilling to return because of a well-founded fear of persecution on one or more of the following 5 grounds: race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion.
Sí, la persona que busca el asilo es una persona que quiere el estatus de refugiado, y las leyes americanas son muy claras en cómo se otorga este estatus de asilo. Y para recibir esa calificación de refugiados se toman 5 estándares o 5 cosas. Uno es la raza, la religión, su nacionalidad, el pertenecer a un grupo social y su opinión política.
So this is where it can become complicated because, you know, how do we tell if someone it qualifies for refugee status based off of one of these 5 grounds, or are they simply a victim of generalized violence, which would not necessarily qualify you for refugee status?
Sí, y es muy complicado porque lamentablemente tú tienes que calificar en una de estas 5 categorías, porque si, por ejemplo, tú eres víctima de una violencia generalizada, tú no calificas para ser un refugiado dentro de los Estados Unidos.
So not every asylum seeker is going to be a refugee. Not everyone who is arriving at the southwest border currently will qualify for refugee status, but every refugee has at one point been an asylum seeker. They will have fled from their country of origin to a second country, been declared a refugee by the UNHCR, and then possibly, if they're lucky, be resettled as a refugee to a third country.
Lamentablemente, no todos los que buscan asilo en la frontera sur de los Estados Unidos pueden tener el estatus de refugiado. Ellos tienen que haber cumplido con los 5 lineamientos para poder pertenecer a ese estatus de refugiado, y además ellos tienen que ver que una vez que tú obtienes esa categoría, tú empiezas como la persona que busca asilo, te conviertes en un refugiado y puedes entrar legalmente en los Estados Unidos.
So according to the Migration Policy Institute, a think tank in Washington, D.C., President Trump has issued over 400 executive actions related to migration or immigration since he was inaugurated, since his inauguration.
So, de acuerdo a todo lo que hemos visto, el presidente Trump ha decretado 400 órdenes en lo que se respecta a la migración y a los procesos migratorios para poder entrar legalmente dentro de los Estados Unidos.
So one of those is the decision to close the northern and southern border of the United States to all non-essential travel. This was an executive order that came out in March of this year, around the time that COVID really started to explode in the United States. And unfortunately, seeking asylum is not considered essential travel.
Y una de las cosas que ha estado pasando, que desde marzo de este año, el presidente Trump hizo una orden ejecutiva que trancó las fronteras norte y sur de los Estados Unidos y solamente las dejó abiertas para un viaje imprescindible, y lamentablemente el buscar asilo no es un viaje imprescindible dentro de estos lineamientos y estas órdenes ejecutivas del presidente.
So since this order was announced in March, more than 159,000 migrants, including asylum seekers, a number which also includes 8,800 unaccompanied minors, have been turned away from the southwest border of the United States. They've been returned either to their home countries or to simply left in Mexico. And they've not been given the opportunity to even submit a claim for asylum. They have simply been returned. They have simply been turned away at the border.
Como consecuencia de esta política o de esta orden ejecutiva, más de 159,000 personas que buscaban asilo, y entre ellos 8,800 niños, han sido rechazados en las fronteras de los Estados Unidos, y ellos los han hecho regresar o a sus países o se han quedado del lado sur de la frontera en el norte de México, esperando a ver si ellos pueden entrar en los Estados Unidos.
Now, the official word of the Department of Homeland Security of the administration is that this policy is necessary to prevent the further introduction of COVID-19 into the United States. The ironic part is that the governments of 11 countries have reported receiving COVID-19 positive deportees from the United States.
O sea, lo irónico de toda esta situación es que supuestamente esta medida fue tomada para evitar que haya mucho más propagación del COVID-19 aquí en los Estados Unidos, pero muchas de esas personas que fueron rechazados han llegado a sus países o han estado en México siendo COVID positivos porque han estado en contacto aquí en la frontera de los Estados Unidos.
So here is a chart that looks at the different trends in migration over the last 4 years. You can see the different colors are the different fiscal years. And
Aquí,
go ahead, sorry.
okay, aquí tenemos un gráfico donde nos muestra cómo ha sido la migración en los Estados Unidos, y cada uno de los colores lo que nos va a mostrar es cada uno de los años fiscales aquí en los Estados Unidos.
So I've also marked where some of Trump's signature policies were announced or when they began, and then you can see the effect that they've had on rates of migration.
Y aquí ustedes pueden ver también en este gráfico, ella puso cuando se dieron las órdenes ejecutivas y cómo esto ha afectado la tendencia de la migración en este país.
So even though apprehensions at the southwest border of the United States more than doubled between fiscal years 2018 and 2019, it's important to keep in mind that the overall numbers remain below historic highs of a couple of decades, about 2 decades ago.
Sí, aun cuando podemos ver en la gráfica que durante los años fiscales 18-19 aumentó ese deseo como de entrar significativamente, es mucho menor que durante administraciones presidenciales previas.
So the latest numbers, according to Customs and Border Protection, are for August 2020. There were about 49,500 apprehensions at the US southern border. It's interesting to compare that number to the around 42,000 that were apprehended in January of 2017, at which time Trump was inaugurated. So you can really see how what's happened is, despite a pandemic, the numbers of arrivals at the southwest border are actually higher today than they were the day that Trump was inaugurated. And you can see just how it's worked to create a crisis, with the height being May 2019, where we had over 100,000 apprehensions at the southwest border. That justifies very strict policies that lead to a dramatic fall. But the numbers are really not all that different today than what they were in January 2017 when Trump was first inaugurated.
Sí, lo que estamos viendo es que los números de la gente que han ido aprendiendo dentro de las fronteras, en la frontera sur de los Estados Unidos, si bien podemos ver que en el año 2019 hubo unos récords de más allá de los 140,000 personas, podemos ver que aun cuando es menor, ha ido subiendo en este año fiscal del 2020, pero si lo vemos, está más o menos, en la gráfica, está más o menos igual como para la época en que Donald Trump asumió la presidencia aquí en los Estados Unidos.
Caitlin Marie, you have about 2 more minutes.
Okay. So even though the overall numbers have not changed historically, it is interesting to note the demographics. One, we've got far more non-Mexicans than Mexicans, and that's a dramatic departure. In the year 2000, non-Mexicans accounted for 2% of apprehensions, and in fiscal year 2019, they accounted for 80% of apprehensions.
O sea, lo que es significativo en esto es que si bien no ha crecido mucho la cantidad de migrantes que está entrando en los Estados Unidos, lo que sí ha crecido es la población que viene a emigrar a los Estados Unidos. Podemos ver que la población asiática ha crecido hasta un 80% en comparación, si lo vemos con los mexicanos que han tratado de entrar aquí en los Estados Unidos.
We've also seen a significant increase in what are called extracontinentals. So people who are coming from someplace other than Central or South America, particularly Africans and Asians. Those numbers have really increased significantly in the last couple of years. And this next graphic will just tell you some of the paths that extracontinentals will take to arrive to the US southern border.
Y es interesante lo que estamos viendo, que si bien se ha mantenido más o menos igual, la cantidad de gente que viene, lo que llaman extracontinental, o sea, que vienen de África o vienen de Asia hacia los Estados Unidos, cómo ha ido creciendo y ha crecido dramáticamente. Y aquí tú tienes un gráfico y un mapa donde ustedes pueden ver cómo esa gente extracontinental, que ha sido mucho mayor que la de los mexicanos o centroamericanos en este momento, está movilizándose para poder entrar aquí dentro de los Estados Unidos.
And the last point I'll talk about is just shifting to the northern border of the United States. There's a safe third country agreement between the US and Canada, which means if you're arriving at an official port of entry, you can be returned to wherever you were coming from, either Canada or the United States, and you must request protection in that country first before you can ask for it in wherever you may be arriving. So if you're coming from the US and you arrive in Canada at an official port of entry, you cannot ask for asylum in Canada unless you've asked for it first in the United States.
Sí, también hay un cambio de entrar en las fronteras y entrando por Canadá. Y hay también un cambio que primero tú tienes que buscar asilo en los Estados Unidos para pedir la protección de Canadá para poderte quedar y ver si puedes lograr entrar dentro de los Estados Unidos.
So this has been in effect. The agreement was signed in 2002. It's been in effect since 2004. However, in July, a federal court in Canada ruled that the Safe Third Country Agreement was unconstitutional. The agreement still remains in effect as it is under appeal, but it's very interesting that a federal court in Canada has looked at immigration policy in the United States and decided that the United States can really no longer be considered a safe third country when it comes to protecting those who are in need of refuge.
Interesante porque ese es un acuerdo que tienen en los Estados Unidos y Canadá que ellos iniciaron y lo hicieron en el 2002, lo ratificaron en el 2004, lo acaban de revisar y lo que han destacado en Canadá es que ellos sienten que los Estados Unidos ya no es un país seguro para los inmigrantes que están buscando refugio aquí en los Estados Unidos, que los Estados Unidos pueda ser un lugar de refugio y seguro para ellos. Están revisando.
Thank you so much, Caitlin Marie, for this excellent overview. We have to have you come back and do another session for us because this is just incredible information. Can we go to Ashley in case there are some questions?
We do have a couple of questions, Caitlin Marie. Thank you very much. Let's see. The first one is, are the 5 grounds to determine refugee status worldwide, or is this determined by the United States? And how has this interpretation changed over different administrations?
Right. Well, the U.S. has domestic law, and it has incorporated the 1951 Refugee Convention. So any country that has signed on to that will be held accountable for what it says in the Refugee Convention, as well as the 1967 protocols. The US didn't sign on to the 51 agreement. They did sign on to the 67. And in 1980, they passed the Refugee Protection Act that incorporated what is included in the international convention. So any country, so these 5 qualifications are a reflection of what's in the international agreement. How the interpretation has changed. Well, for example, membership of a particular social group. That this is quite a flexible and somewhat ambiguous definition. Previous administrations, if you were a woman, maybe an indigenous woman who was subject to violence, you might be able to claim, your status as an indigenous woman was a particular social group. Something that former Attorney General Jeff Sessions tried to do was to say that domestic violence could not be considered a grounds for asylum. So you couldn't get asylum. You couldn't be considered a particular social group because you were a woman, and that made you a particular social group that made you particularly vulnerable to domestic violence. Similarly, gang recruitment is a big problem in Central America. previously, you might have been able to say, well, the structure, the conditions in Central America are such that the gangs have essentially replaced the government. So if I resist recruitment into the gangs, well, that's grounds for asylum as a particular political opinion. In the same decision, Jeff Sessions said that resistance to gang violence was not a grounds upon which someone could claim asylum, because this is generalized violence. The United States is not responsible for taking in everybody who may be experiencing some kind of instability or weak institutions, and so things like domestic violence and gang violence don't qualify someone for asylum. Now, this decision is under appeal, and so it hasn't been implemented, it hasn't gone into full effect, but these are some of the efforts that the administration has made to kind of change its interpretation of these characteristics.
Thank you. Helena, can you condense that?
Well, lo que ella estaba diciendo, lo que están hablando es que es lo que se considera de las políticas para refugiados, y una de las cosas básicas, si lo condensamos, es que no podemos considerar como refugiados personas que son parte de violencia general. Por ejemplo, si los están reclutando por las maras y están siendo coaccionados por las maras, aunque podría darse el argumento de que las maras están convirtiéndose como el punto de control como gobierno, pero los Estados Unidos no lo está aceptando. Y la otra cosa es, por ejemplo, una mujer que viene escapando a su marido de la violencia doméstica y ella quiere buscar refugio, tampoco lo aceptan porque eso consideran que es violencia general y no forma parte de las 5 categorías en las cuales te podrían dar el derecho de asilo aquí en los Estados Unidos.
Thank you so much, Caitlin Marie. Thank you, Elena. Let's now move to Rita so we can go to the border. Rita?
Padre Javier Calvillo. He's the director of Casa del Migrante in Ciudad Juárez in Mexico. Just a short ride to the southern border on El Paso. Padre Javier has been involved with migration issues for over 20 years and has been in charge of La Casa del Migrante for the last 10 years. Bienvenido, Padre Javier, y la hermana Krista, who is going to translate for him.
Thank you. Vamos.
Hola, hola.
Padre Javier wanted to show us some of the house, where it is, and the interior of the house, as well as some of the migrants who are living there at the moment.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful, awesome. We're just coming outside of Casa del Migrante, where Father Javier will give a little introduction and overview of our ministry.
Bienvenidos a la Casa de Migrantes Ciudad Juárez.
Welcome to our migrant house in Ciudad Juárez.
La casa tiene 36 años funcionando en la frontera.
The house has 36 years functioning at the border.
Fundada por los escalabrinianos.
The Scalabrinians founded the house.
Luego los dominicos
Then the Dominicans were here,
y ahora los diocesanos.
and now it's diocesan.
Para poder entrar a algún albergue,
To be able to enter into a shelter,
tenemos que respetar el protocolo.
we have to respect the protocols.
Cubrebocas,
The mask, as we walk in, there's another system.
desinfectarme, bañarme con cloro.
Disinfect and take a bath in Clorox.
checarme la temperatura.
Check his temperature.
¿Cuánto traigo? 36.8.
36 degrees Celsius.
Sí, mija, por favor.
Now we enter.
Esta es la casa del migrante y sobre todo, ¿qué ha pasado en los últimos 10 años en Juárez?
This is the migrant house and what has happened in the last 10 years.
¿Es la misma migración o hay algo diferente?
Is it the same migration or something different?
La administración del presidente Barack Obama
The administration of Barack Obama,
fue una administración que cambió mucho la migración.
it was an administration that changed a lot of migration.
El plan Mérida en la frontera sur,
The plan in the southern border,
las deportaciones aéreas,
the deportations to different areas,
separación de familias,
separation of families,
readadas en Estados Unidos,
readadas,
readadas persecuciones,
persecutions in the United States,
los brazaletes
the bracelets, the ankle bracelets,
y meter a los niños o a las familias, a los migrantes en la cárcel o en las jaulas.
and putting children and families in prisons and in jails and in cages.
En ese tiempo
In this time,
creció mucho las deportaciones con el presidente Barack Obama.
with Barack Obama, the deportations increased a lot.
Venga, pues pasemos.
So we'll keep going. Past- Hola, buenas tardes.
Vamos a pasar a dar un recorrido
We're gonna come through this area,
a una área donde están mamás con niñas o con niños.
an area where the moms are with their children.
Estamos aquí en la cocina ahorita con las cocineras que están preparando para grupos comer.
Here we are in the kitchen with the women that are preparing the food, and they prepare them in groups.
Estamos-
Let's
adelante.
go. Gracias.
Esta es el área donde están las mamás y donde están las niñas.
Here's the area where the mothers are and the children.
Aquí es donde le voy a dejar a la hermana Krista que ella presente unas familias aquí en su casa.
Here's where he'll leave you with me, Sister Kristen, to share with you a little bit about the families that are here. So let's go ahead and come down the hallway a little bit. Hola, buenas noches. Hola, hola, buenas tardes. Hola, buenas tardes. ¿Alguien puede venir por un ratito, por favor? Gracias, gracias. Hola, hola, buenas tardes. Tenemos unos amigos aquí y ¿puedes decir cómo se llama? Angélica. ¿Y de dónde es Angélica? De Guatemala. De Guatemala. ¿Y hace cuánto tiempo está aquí? From the 3rd since the 30th of December, Angélica has been here with us. ¿Qué le gusta de él estar aquí?
Pues aquí me ando para la sequía y dando clases a los niños.
Wonderful. So here, I asked her what does she like about being here. One of the things is they provide classes for the children, so education component for the little ones, and also she also sews, and so there's an opportunity. They have workshops where the women and men and children can sew as they pass their time and eventually sell some of those products that they create. So thank you so much. Gracias, Angélica, por tu tiempo. Hola, hola, gracias. Otra familia. Here's another beautiful family. Miss Rosy. Rosy, ¿de dónde es? Honduras. Honduras. So Rosy is from Honduras. This is her beautiful daughter, Angie, and her two little ones. And they're a wonderful, wonderful family from Honduras. Muchas gracias. ¿Cómo están ustedes? How are you? Bien, bien. Muy bien. Gracias. ¿Hace cuánto tiempo han estado aquí? Estamos desde el 17 de diciembre. Okay. Since the 27th of December, they have been here in Casa del Migrante. ¿Y qué les gusta de estar aquí? What do they like about being here? En primer lugar, agradecemos por darnos la oportunidad de estar aquí. Gracias a Dios nos han dado apoyo en la situación que estamos. Excelente. They feel very grateful to God for being here, for the support that they've been given during this time. So they feel grateful to God for this opportunity to be in this space. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you so much. Mil gracias. Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much. These are just a few of our beautiful families. There are about 12 families. Blanca, hay 12 familias aquí en esta área. But 12 families here, no, 14 families that are staying here in this area from different parts of South and Central America. And then we have some families from Brazil as well. So we're very grateful to welcome you, and we'll continue on our tour. Gracias, gracias, gracias. Nos vemos pronto. Gracias, gracias. Okay. Los baños están aquí también. The bathrooms are here where they get ready to share. It's a dormitory style, so we have shared bathrooms, and then ¿cuántas familias viven en cada dormitorio? Blanca? 4 families? About 4 families live in one dormitory, so they have the bunk beds, as you can see, and yeah, so up to 4 families can be in one room. So we'll continue on our journey with Father Javier, and we're going to hear from 2 of our guests here, a family from Brazil, and then also a family from Guatemala. So we'll get to learn more about their story, the struggle, and what's it like to be an asylum seeker here in Juárez. Okay, we can go ahead. Okay, welcome to our television room. A lot of things happen here. One of the things I have the privilege of doing is teaching English classes. So I get to teach English classes Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here. Some of the workshops they do with the sewing and embroidery also happens here. The children's activities, education takes place here as well. So we have our first beautiful family from Brazil, and they're going to share their story. And I don't speak Portuguese, but I've been working with Angela to understand what their story is and to share a little bit of that. Can everyone hear me okay? Could I have a thumbs up if you can hear me okay? Okay. All right, great, great, great. Thank you. Okay, so Angela, ¿cómo se llama su esposo?
Leandro.
Leandro. Angela y Leandro will share in Portuguese poquito de su historia. They'll share some of their story in Portuguese, and I will translate afterwards. Okay? All right, go ahead. Gracias, Angela.
Tudo começou em 2015.
Okay, everything started in 2015.
A gente foi convidado por umas pessoas que tinham uma terra, né, lá na cidade onde a gente morava.
No, she shared with me a little bit about her story that her father cared for a large piece of land. There was a man that came in and stole a part of that land.
Aí meu pai tomou conta dessa terra durante muito tempo e a gente foi convidado para ser testemunha porque pessoas invadiram essa terra, né? No caso, Marcelo.
So the owners of the land so the father cared for the land, but he didn't own the land. The people who owned the land, they wanted to take this man who was stealing their part of their property to court. So in order to do that, they needed witnesses. So this family was very brave, very courageous to become witnesses saying that this man was trying to steal their property.
parou. Estava para traduzir aqui, que a gente segue uma sequência.
She had explained that they didn't realize that the man had stole part of the property. He had a lot of people that were supporting him, including policemen, gangs, politicians, council members. And as soon as they became witnesses against this man, they suffered a lot of consequences.
Aí, meu pai morreu aos 15 anos, né? Quando houve essa invasão, a gente foi convidado a participar como testemunho, porém não era uma pessoa, eram vários envolvidos, entendeu? Polícias, o vereador, político, e assim foi, perseguindo nós.
So there began a persecution against them because of this man and the people who were backing him, including policemen, counselors, and gangs. So one October, on a Monday, she said that she went to take her little girl to the doctor for a follow-up appointment in the morning. When they got home, they realized their house had been broken into and all of their furniture had been removed and things inside had been broken. And they killed 2 of their dogs. So the people who began persecuting them, chasing them, threatening their lives, were in their house and caused all this damage. And they were very scared. They called the police. The police advised them to run because these were very dangerous people that they were dealing with.
Você falou da relação que a polícia mandou a gente fugir.
Yes.
Aí, a pergunta, por que Estados Unidos?
Yeah, so they said, why the United States? Why did they choose the United States?
Não era a nossa opção.
It wasn't their first option.
Estados Unidos.
They wanted to go to Italy, actually.
Porque como a gente sabia do perigo que a gente corria, a gente tinha sonho de ir para a Itália. Porém, na Itália não tem como ficar ilegal, né? Porque meu marido caiu em processo de cidadania.
Her husband was in the final process of citizenship, but they couldn't legally enter the country. So we need to go to the next person, but we're going to come over to Lucia in just a moment. But she wants you to know that she has a very strong faith in God, and she trusts that God is going to help them with their case. She feels very blessed with her children, her family. You can see their gorgeous family, and that she continues to trust God. Angela, falta de tiempo, solamente tenemos unos minutos más, so vamos a cambiar a Lucía. Pero mil gracias por su
Não, é só
por compartir.
Falar, como eu te falei, entendeu? Hoje a gente está aqui na casa do Migrante. Agradece muito a Deus pelas pessoas que sempre estão nos apoiando, a Olga, a Blanca.
She thanks God for all the people here that are supporting her. Olga, Blanca, Alma, naming the people, the staff members who work here at Casa del Migrante who have been so good to the family.
Agradece muito e obrigado também a eles pelo.
She says thank you very much. She gives thanks to God. She thanks Padre Javier. She thanks God for
Porque é uma bênção de Deus, tá? Não é fácil a missão, mas Deus está no controle.
Oh, God is so good. Ay, muchísimas gracias. Thank you. Thank you so much. Gracias. Now, thank you so much. We're coming over now to our dear Lucia and her beautiful daughter. And she's gonna share a little bit of her story as well. Okay, so Lucia, ¿puede empezar, por favor? She's been here because she has fear of being in her country. She's been through extortion. She has a daughter who has special needs, and her daughter is deaf and mute.
Y por esa razón que en la capital no puede estar ella los estudios de discapacidad, pero por la extorsión, porque me perseguían y ella no podía estar ahí. Estuve andando de colonia a colonia y por esa razón que ella no continuar allá.
She couldn't continue the extortion that she was she was being persecuted, and the extortion she was experiencing wouldn't allow her to stay where she was at. So she went to usted fue al capital?
Sí, la capital de Guatemala.
Capital de Guatemala, and it wasn't safe for her to stay where she was from. And her daughter, su hija estaba recibiendo educación.
2 años.
2 years in a school for children with special needs, but ustedes tuvieron que salir or tenían que salir de esta área. So they had to leave that place where her daughter was receiving services and education. And ¿qué más?
Y pues al venir aquí, y aquí estamos, pues en primero, pues gracias que nos dieron la oportunidad de estar aquí.
Yeah, they're
Pero
grateful
estamos preocupadas
for the opportunity to be here, but also they're very worried.
porque mi intención es cruzar, llegar allá, necesito ayuda.
Yeah, she needs
necesito
help.
apoyo
She wants to
para mi
cross
hija.
to be over in the United
Necesito
States.
que ella aprenda a leer,
She needs
aprenda a
support
valer
for her
sus
daughter.
estudios.
She wants her daughter to be able to learn to read and to receive education and other resources.
Necesito que me hicieran el favor de ayudarme y que me apoye con ella. Que la verdad que sí, lo necesito.
She needs help. She wants someone to be able to help her and to receive the help she needs for herself and for her daughter. Okay.
No se puede. Mi país no se puede.
En mi país no se puede.
Yeah, it's not
En mi
possible
país
in
no
her.
puedo estar, no puedo darle el estudio ni vivir ahí porque me
Yeah.
andan persiguiendo, tengo miedo, o sea que la mando a ella en el bus y yo no sé si ella regresa o no regresa.
She was frightened whenever she would send her daughter on the bus to go to school. She didn't know if her daughter would come back home, which was very frightening for her. So she really wants to be in the United States and get the support she needs and the resources. Mil gracias, Lucía. Muchísimas gracias.
Sí. Comentaba al inicio cómo la migración ha cambiado hace 10 años hacia atrás.
He commented on the last 10 years, how migration has changed in the last 10 years.
Llevo 22 años trabajando para la migración,
And for 22 years, he's been working in this area.
pero 10 años atrás ha sido más fuerte. Primero por el presidente Obama,
10 years ago, it got much more difficult, heavier with President Barack Obama in office.
ahora con el señor presidente Donald Trump,
Now with President Trump,
y también, sobre todo ahora con todo esto de la pandemia,
and now of course with the pandemic, it's worse.
no se diga la violencia y la inseguridad en México,
The violence and the uncertainty and security continues,
incluso la crisis política que tenemos ahorita en nuestro país.
and the political crisis that we have in our country as well.
Por eso quisiera aprovechar esta oportunidad
For this reason, I want to take advantage of this opportunity
que estamos celebrando nuestra jornada,
that we are celebrating this day,
que así como hace 2000 años,
that more than 200 years,
María y José y el niño Jesús
that Maria and Jose and the baby Jesus,
se quiso hacer hombre
that
y,
he became man
y experimentar
and he experimented
esa experiencia de migrantes.
the experience of a migrant.
Nadie puede decir
No one could say
que la migración es mala,
that that migration is bad,
que el migrante es malo,
that the migrant is bad,
porque dentro de nosotros,
because within us,
en nuestra misma naturaleza,
in our same nature,
en nuestro ADN,
in our DNA,
vamos evolucionando,
we've been evolutionizing,
vamos caminando,
we've been walking,
por supuesto, a la eternidad,
for sure, to eternity.
que es lo que Dios nos ofrece.
This is what God offers us.
Hemos tenido migrantes desde 1000
We've had
hasta 100, 200, 20, 30.
We've had migrants from 1,000 to 100 to 200 to 40.
Los años pasados han sido fuertes
These last years have been really difficult,
y más lo que estamos enfrentando ahorita con esta pandemia.
and even more so now with the pandemic.
¿Alguna pregunta, alguna duda? Con mucho gusto. Si
If there-
quieren ir apuntándola y pasamos para contestarlas o algún comentario.
If there are any
Muchas
questions,
gracias, Padre Javier.
and we will answer them.
Rita, can you ask how long families can stay?
How long can the family stay?
Thanks to Father Javier. Padre Javier, ¿hace cuánto tiempo las familias pueden quedar aquí?
Las familias pueden quedarse, depende.
Sí.
Hay familias
Depends
depende de su proceso.
in their process.
Hay gente que está en el programa MPP,
There are people in the MPP program
que están pidiendo asilo y luego regresan a México y espérate hasta que te toque la corte.
they're waiting for their asylum case here in Mexico.
Pero el problema que tenemos ahorita es que está todo parado.
But the problem right now is everything has stopped.
Las fronteras están cerradas,
The borders are closed.
CBP igual, y no se digan las cortes.
CBP is not operating like it was before, and the courts are not continuing for the moment.
Hay gente que quiere retornar a su lugar de origen,
There are some people that want to return back to their countries,
pero no hay apoyo en México ni nadie que pueda trasladarlos a su lugar de origen.
but there's no support right now, no way to send people back to their country, their country of origin.
Está la organización OIM, que pertenece a una organización internacional, pero también por todo lo de la pandemia se bloquea y no se puede. Entonces, la gente puede estar, tiene con nosotros.
There's a United Nations organization that used to help with people returning safely to their countries, but that has stopped for the moment as well. The organization is called OIM.
Hay gente que con nosotros tiene un mes o tiene un año o un poquito más del año.
Could be somebody with us 1 month or up to a year or even more than a year at the moment. Yeah. Okay. Okay, vamos a we'll return back to where the
Gracias.
This is a nice, lovely sitting area. Last Wednesday, we had the celebration of Mexican Independence Day, and we had a lovely celebration out here. Lots of decorations, flowers. It was not only Mexican Independence Day, but Independence Day of Guatemala and Honduras, and Brazil was a little bit earlier as well this month. So we had an international celebration.
Las casas del migrante que tenemos en México,
The migrant houses that we have in Mexico,
122
122
de la iglesia.
of the church. And this is the hallway to the offices.
Can you ask if there was one change to immigration policy, what would Father want it to be right now?
Un cambio a la policía, ¿cómo se dice? Policy.
Política.
La
Política.
Gracias, la política de migración. ¿Qué será?
Yo creo que se tiene que ver mucho, creo que la política es importante en México y también es importante en Estados Unidos. Está lo de DACA.
It's important in the U.S. and in Mexico. For example, DACA.
Están todavía este programa de MPP de retorno o de mucha gente que está en la cárcel o en los centros de detención.
Yeah, to have, para seguir con MPP.
Sí.
To continue with the MPP program as well, and those who are in the detention centers as well as not in the detention centers.
Yo creo que se tiene sí que ver realmente lo esencial y lo valioso de Estados Unidos.
To see the real value in what's essential in the United States.
Todo lo que aporta el migrante en la economía, en lo humano, en lo social y en los valores a Estados Unidos.
What helps the migrant,
Los valores,
Oh, the
la
value.
economía.
Contribute.
Trabajo, ajá, a Estados Unidos.
Yeah, economy, all the different ways to better support the migrant population.
A un país 100%.
When there's, especially in a country that's 100% migrant.
Thank you so much, Padre, for this
Gracias.
wonderful, wonderful visit.
Okay, thank you. No, sister.
No, un gran placer.
Thank you, hermana. Thank you, hermana.
Muchas gracias.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wow. So now we're going to take a quick visit back up into the US, and we'll hear from Mario David. Mario David Jarquin Hernandez is 32 years old from Managua, Nicaragua. He arrived at the border April 29th, 2019, and was in detention for almost a year. He entered through Matamoros. He received asylum, political asylum, on April 28th, 2020. And Mario, our other Mario, is going to translate for us. Mario, I think you're on mute.
Okay. Oh, this is Mario Fernandez. I'm actually, did we miss Mario Harkin?
No, he's here.
He was here.
He's here, yeah.
Mario, ¿me escuchas? Oh, I don't see him anymore connected.
Oh, he was there a minute ago. Let's.
Yeah, he was there.
Okay.
He was there. Probably he went off.
Okay, so maybe what we could do is go to Boston and then come back to Mario. How's that?
Yep, okay.
Thank you. Okay, Rita? Rita?
You're muted, Rita.
I was in mute, sorry.
Okay.
I would like to introduce to you Joan Engler, who is the team leader for our migration support at San Ignacio. The acronym is ARUPE, and she will tell you more about the program in the second part, but now she will introduce Alberto.
Hi, I'm Joan Engler, parishioner from St. Ignatius in Chestnut Hill. And as part of our social justice ministry, we have a group that does assistance and welcome for refugees who arrive in Boston under the auspices of Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Boston. And 10 years ago, I had the privilege to meet a lovely family, Albert Mukakatini, his wife, Blondine. When they arrived, they had 4 children, and now they have 5. They are American citizens. They have come here from the Congo, suffering great persecution, and they now are homeowners and American citizens. And I'm very happy to introduce to you my friend, Albert Mukakatini. So now unmute. Albert,
somebody can unmute Alberto.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Like John just introduced me, my name is Albert Mwatikani. As you can see, I have my whole family behind me. On my left over here is my wife, Blandine. The other side is Abigail. All the kids behind me. So thank you for letting us join this kind of meeting. Is a good opportunity to tell you guys about exactly where we came from and how grateful we are. So we are from the Democratic Republic of Congo. We fled our country since 2007. So from the Congo, we went to Kenya in a refugee camp in Kakuma. So we decided to leave the country. It was due to the war and the massacre was going on right now, especially in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. So in general, our country has a big problem. The leadership doesn't do his real job. There's corruption. There is many stuff going on. I don't know everything. So we decided to leave because of where we was victim of that kind of situation. Even my wife and I was about to be killed. So we went to Kenya in a refugee camp. The time we fled, we had 2 kids, Abigail and Betty, in a refugee camp. We stayed in the refugee camp for 3 years. The refugee camp had also 2 kids, Abital and Ibagwa. thank God, it was a long journey. It's a long story. We came to America through UNCR and was welcomed in America with Catholic churches, which connected to John England. I don't know what I can say about John England. She's like, I don't know. It's a long story. I don't have to tell you the whole story. So, but we are so grateful for this kind of opportunity to tell you exactly how grateful we are for this kind of program, welcoming immigrants in this kind of country. United States is the country where people at least have to recognize how really they come from a place where they have some situation which was bad, but at least here in America, it's safe and is a lot of opportunities. So we have to encourage you guys to keep doing the best job you are doing right now to welcome others of kind of people who are in need. Because most of the people, despite we still have more people back over there, like my brother, I see my brothers in the refugee camp in Kenya, who still they can be able to find a way to get where we are right now. Because not everybody, despite we didn't have that kind of choice to say, okay, I want to go to America or I want to go to Canada or to Australia. The UNCR is the one who can choose for you. You don't have that kind of choice. So thank God for us to have that kind of, I don't know. So we are here. Since we have been here in this country, like me, I went to school and then I went to college and did criminal justice. And I have an associate degree in criminal justice. Right now, I'm working as a security officer. Same thing to my wife. She's doing nursing right now. She's in a program right now. She's trying to get maybe a medical license. I have my daughter, Abigail, who she's right now in 11th grade. Abeti is in 10. She's in 9, sorry. Abital is in 8, 7, sorry, I'm going way back. Emmanuel is in 5, right? And Mark is in 4. So we are trying to work hard to make sure at least we can try to overcome or forgetting about what's going on back home for what we went through. Because right now, back home, people doesn't have that kind of opportunity. People stealing right now in my country, especially in the Democratic Republic of Congo, in Beni, in Ituri, and in Goma. People have been killed, people have been tortured, people have been going through many stuff. Until now, it's like a genocide going on right now. And we still have family members back home, parents, brothers and sisters still going on right now. So I think for now, I would like to say something about I understood everybody talking about the stopping of letting immigrants get that kind of help from the refugees camps all over the world. I mean, in the United States, Trump administration is not a good thing because I remember my brother told me everything stopped. There's no more resettlement back in all the refugees came. So I don't know exactly what this kind of administration think. So please, if you can plead for that. But my kids, my wife and I over here, you can see her. She has at least 2 words or 3 words to tell you guys for how we are so grateful, connected to, especially, I don't know how I can thank John. Let me at least see your face, guys. And you can hear my voice and tell you how grateful we are to see your face and to let maybe other people can benefit to that kind of help you always do. every single day for immigrants. We are so grateful. That's my wife is here. She can say a word also.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Actually, what Albert just told you guys, it's a true story, you know, from what we have been through from our country to United States. So it has been a long, long journey, and you know, we are here now safe. At least we can sleep and we can wake up and nobody will come at your door and say, hey, you know, you say this, or we're gonna kill you or something like that. So we just thank God for that. And for the past 10 years that we have been in this country, thanks to Catholic Charity, especially through John too. So without John, we couldn't, you know, be here and participate in this, you know, conference. And as I'm, you know, I'm listening to other stories, you know, Mexican family and other family too. I just feel like these people, they are trapped. They are in cage. They cannot be able to help themselves. So they need somebody to, you know, to speak for them. They need somebody to help. They are not criminals. They just left their countries, you know, for so many reasons. It might be, you know, political issue. It might be, you know, job opportunity. It might be so many things. So for me, I would say, I think we are so lucky to have this opportunity for American to welcome us here as a refugee. And also, I would like also, you know, these Mexican, you know, families and other people too, to have at least also that chance, to have that opportunity, you know, that us, as we came here as a refugee, we are getting, because they are all humans like us. So we cannot treat them like animals or like, I don't know what to say. It's just unhumans. And I think Trump administration, they have a lot of work to do, because what they are doing is just not good. It's not helping anybody. It's just destroying the country. It's just destroying the world. So many people across the world, they are taking America now as not a safer country to travel. People even choose like, I don't want to go to America. And you know, just, you know, send me someplace else, because what's going on there, the president's supposed to be the head of the country, you know, supposed to do good for everybody, but he's not doing it. So I'm just depressed to see all those family, you know, stuck in one place. And, you know, I don't know what to say. I'm just grateful. And I'll say Catholic Charity, thank you. John, thank you. And everybody there, I just thank you. And I want you guys keep, you know, doing your work, helping people, fighting for their rights. And, you know, I don't know what to say. That's all I can say. I'm just grateful.
Rita, you're on mute.
She's on mute?
No, Rita is. Thank you.
Sorry. No, we wanted to thank you for opening your heart and telling us your story. We value it greatly. Thank you very much. Margie?
Yes, now we're going to go back to Mario Hernandez. Mario David is with us now. Mario Fernandez will do his translating. Okay, so Mario, are you there? He got disconnected before.
Mario, ahora sí puedes quitarle el mute. No, he's back.
Okay, great. Okay, as I said before, Mario Hernandez is 32 years old. He came to the US through Matamoros and was in detention for a year in Mississippi and Louisiana. He received his asylum on political grounds on April 28th, 2020. Mario, can you tell us a little bit about your life before you came to the US?
¿Puedes decirnos un poco de tu vida antes de que vinieras a Estados Unidos, Mario?
I think you're on mute. ¿Dónde está?
No te escuchamos, Mario.
There he is. Mario está.
Deja, checa ahí el audio. Habla.
Okay. You're on mute, Mario.
Ahora estás en mute, pero no te escuchábamos antes. Quítale el mute. Oh, pero no tienes audio. Trata. I think Margie, what's happening now, it's what happened to me yesterday. So I think he can go out and just log out and log back in.
Okay.
Mario, trata de salir y regresar de nuevo. Así me pasó ayer. Sorry, we're having a little tech.
Okay. While Mario is doing that, why don't we see if there are any questions in the chat? I think perhaps we had a question from when Caitlin was speaking as well.
Yeah, we did. Caitlin Marie, a couple of people asked what had changed in Africa and Asia to have the increase that you referenced.
Yeah, well, I think it's the motivations for people coming from the different regions varies. I think, you know, from Asia, the primary countries that are sending migrants are India, Bangladesh, Nepal. They tend to largely be economic migrants versus the countries that are sending migrants in Africa. The top countries being Eritrea, Ethiopia, Nigeria, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. It tends to be more sectarian violence, internal conflicts. I think a lot of the explanation comes from how increasingly difficult it is to access Europe as borders in Europe have closed. And just a realization, you know, as these networks grow in the United States, people can, word gets back. The map that I showed before has people generally arriving first in Ecuador and Brazil. And that's because these two countries tend to have more relaxed visa standards. Ecuador for some time didn't have any visa requirements for any country. That has since changed, but it's much more relaxed than in other countries. And so, so for that reason, it's cheaper, it's safer, at least getting into this part of the Western Hemisphere. From Ecuador and Brazil, they're taking buses, they're walking, hitchhiking, what have you, to get to the United States. But I think it just has. I think it's just related to kind of the changing dynamics in migration in some of the receiving countries, as well as lasting instability of different sorts in the home countries.
Thank you.
Quite a lot. I'm not sure if we can translate any of that. Elena? Okay, so let's move on. Let's see, we're trying to get Mario back in. And in the meanwhile, how about if we go back to Padre and Caitlin Marie and ask, what is a word or a phrase you would like us to take away? What is something you would like us to leave with? And why don't we start with Padre? Quizás.
Margie, you need to translate.
Ok, como sacerdote y como mexicano o como de Ciudad Juárez.
As a priest and as a Mexican and someone from Ciudad Juárez.
Hace unos 7, 8 años fuimos la frontera más violenta del mundo.
About 7 or 8 years that this has been the most violent border in the world.
Y me tocó ver mucha gente que tuvo que irse de la ciudad.
And he's noticed that a lot of people have had to leave the city.
No porque fueran malos.
Not because they were bad.
No porque fueran narcotraficantes.
Not because they were narco traffickers.
No porque fueran migrantes.
Not because they're migrants.
sino porque era gente rica,
Just because they were people that were rich,
gente empresaria,
people that were business people,
que les habían secuestrado un hijo,
that had a son that was kidnapped or daughter that was kidnapped.
habían matado a la esposa,
Somebody killed their husband or wife.
habían secuestrado a un abuelito, a un ser querido,
Somebody had maybe a grandmother or a loved one was disappeared. Was kidnapped,
o les quemaron sus negocios o les hicieron mucho daño.
or their business was burned and a lot of damage had been done.
La mayoría de esa gente,
The majority of these people
todos se fueron a Estados Unidos.
went to the United States.
Ahí es donde nos damos cuenta
This is where we realize
que la migración
that migration,
tiene muchas raíces o muchas secuelas o muchas consecuencias.
has a lot of roots, has a lot of consequences.
Por eso no podemos decir
For this reason, we can't say,
nunca
never
generalizar
generalize
que la migración
that migration
es mala.
is bad.
No se debe de dar
We can't do that.
y no se debe permitir
We shouldn't do that or permit that
con muros,
with walls,
con leyes antimigrantes,
with laws that are against migrants,
porque todos,
because all,
de donde seamos,
from wherever,
somos
we are
seres humanos.
human beings.
Y hay muchos países,
And there are many countries,
como Estados Unidos,
like the United States,
que su raíz,
that their roots
o en Europa o en Oriente,
are from Europe or Asia,
que sus raíces son
that their roots are
100% migrantes.
100% migrant roots.
Por lo tanto,
For this reason,
la migración
migration
no es mala.
is not bad.
Al contrario, es parte de la humanidad.
Yeah, contrary, it's really part of humanity.
It's all.
That's what I want. That's it. That's what I
Thank
want
you.
you to take away.
Muy bien.
Thank you.
Margie, I think we have Mario back.
Right, so let's hear from Mario Joaquin, and then we'll go back to Caitlin Marie to end that section. I realize that we are quite over time. Please feel free to leave if you need to, but if you want to stay, we are here and we are going to continue the program. Mario, hola.
Hola mucho, hola, buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes, yeah, ahí estamos bien.
Ahora sí. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about your life before you came to the U.S.?
Un poco de tu vida antes de que vinieras a Estados Unidos.
Sí, yo soy un ciudadano nicaragüense que estudiaba en una universidad en Nicaragua.
Nicaraguan citizen that I was just going to university before coming here.
Y yo tenía un negocio frente a una universidad pública durante las protestas que hubieron en Nicaragua a partir del año 2018. En el año 2019, que se conmemoraron los eventos que habían sucedido en Nicaragua, seguía la represión. Entonces, yo tuve un problema con la policía.
Okay.
Y
so I was I had a small business right in front of one of the universities back in 2018. But after a year, in 2019, when we were celebrating the first anniversary from those protests, I started to receive some type of a persecution from the national police.
Fui obligado a salir de mi país y venir acá a los Estados Unidos a solicitar asilo político y protección, ya que la situación en mi país era muy complicada.
Yeah, it was very complicated, the situation in our country back at that time. So I was pretty much forced to leave my country and come here to the United States.
Cuando yo vine a los Estados Unidos, crucé la frontera por Matamoros, Tamaulipas, hacia Brownsville, en Texas.
When I first come here, I crossed the border at the Matamoros. You said to hit the Matamoros.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the Matamoros border, and then I was taken to Brownsville, Texas.
En Brownsville Me tuvieron en una de las llamadas hieleras, que son los centros donde la CBP reúne a los migrantes. Ahí estuve unos días y de ahí fui trasladado al estado de Mississippi, a una prisión en Mississippi, donde tenía que hacer el proceso de la entrevista del temor creíble para que los oficiales de migración decidieran si yo podía obtener o no el beneficio del asilo político.
So I was, when I first was detained, unfortunately, I was taken to what they call hieleras, which is an ice box, pretty much where they have a lot of people, which is actually very cold. I spent there a few days, some days, and then I was transferred again I was taken to Mississippi, where I had that credible fear interview, which is an interview that where an immigration agent will decide if you can start your asylum process or not.
El día 16 de mayo del 2019 me hicieron por teléfono la entrevista del temor creíble y el 24 de mayo me dieron el resultado donde me dijeron que era positivo y yo podía continuar con el proceso de la solicitud del asilo político.
On May 16, that was the day I had the interview. Then a few days after, on May 24th, they gave me the result saying that it was a positive result, that I was continuing. I was green. I had a green light to continue with the process.
El día 30 de mayo me trasladaron del estado de Mississippi al estado de Luisiana a otra prisión que se llama Winfield, en la ciudad de Winfield, en Luisiana, donde pasé los últimos 11 meses de mi proceso esperando las cortes de migración para tener las entrevistas con el juez para que se me otorgara el asilo político.
So on May 30th, I was taken again to Mississippi, Louisiana, another place, and that's where I spent the majority of the time. I spent 11 months just waiting for the courts to have that final hearing with the judge, where I was I was hoping to get to be granted asylum.
Tuve 4 cortes de migración con 4 jueces diferentes y el último juez, el día 28 de abril, me otorgó el asilo político, el 28 de abril del 2020, y me liberaron un día después, el día 29, y me trasladé ya por mi cuenta. Tenía que hacerlo ya por mi cuenta. O sea, ellos te otorgan el asilo político, ICE te da la libertad y tú te tienes que mover ya por tus medios al lugar donde vas. Y yo vine para el estado de Maryland.
Okay, so I had 4 different immigration courts with 4 different judges. On the last court, it was on April 28th, 2020. That's when I was granted asylum, thank God. And then they released me on April 29th, the next day. And from that point, you're just being released and you are on your own. They don't really do anything else for you, and it's in your hands to get to another place. And that's how I came to the DMV area.
En mi caso, tuve la gran bendición y con la ayuda de Dios se me fue otorgado el asilo político. Le puedo contar a la gente que no tiene tal vez una idea de lo que se trata el proceso. Es un proceso muy largo, es una inseguridad sobre todo. Y gracias a Dios yo recibí el asilo político.
I had the biggest blessing, thank God, because I was granted asylum. It is a very, very long process. It's very, you don't really feel any security. You feel, ¿cómo se podría decir? Inseguro. You don't really feel much security because you have no idea what's going to happen. And thank God I was granted asylum.
Mario, what kept you going? What sustained you during this journey?
¿Qué te hacía seguir adelante? ¿Qué te mantenía? ¿Qué te daba esperanza para simplemente continuar?
No tenía en realidad ninguna esperanza. Yo le pedí mucho a Dios durante todo ese tiempo porque yo en realidad no tenía, no podía echarme para atrás. Yo en mi país tenía problemas con el gobierno. Entonces, si yo recibía una deportación de parte del gobierno de los Estados Unidos, en realidad no sé si yo en estos momentos estaría vivo, porque el gobierno y las personas que trabajan para el gobierno en Nicaragua lastiman mucho a las personas que han tenido problemas, y sobre todo a las personas que solicitaron asilo político en los Estados Unidos y no les fue otorgado. Entonces son severamente castigadas.
People back in our country are very punished if they know that you've been requesting asylum. I had no hope at all. So I kept asking and I kept praying a lot to our Father. And because I could not go back. That was not an option for me because the government, people who work for the government, really treat you in a bad way. If you go back alive, it's really bad. So if I was returned back to Nicaragua, I cannot really say if I would be alive today.
You had who represented you, Mario, on your case?
¿Quién te representó en tu caso?
Yo mismo fui mi abogado durante mi caso de asilo político. Yo desde el momento que recibí la entrevista del temor creíble y los oficiales de migración me dijeron de que yo tenía que contar lo que había pasado yo. Entonces yo tomé la decisión de no contratar a un abogado, sino que defenderme yo mismo, porque yo sabía lo que a mí me había sucedido. Entonces no quise yo que por medio de otra persona se contara mi historia. Entonces yo estudié mucho durante todo el año que yo estuve en detención. Yo estudié las leyes de inmigración, estudié la forma de cómo dirigirse ante un juez, ante un fiscal, y en realidad lo que yo conté fue parte de mi vida, de lo que a mí me había sucedido. Entonces, gracias a Dios fue todo satisfactorio para mí.
Yeah.
Basically, I represented myself. I did not hire any lawyer. From the credible interview of fear, I just wanted to tell my story. I decided not to hire a lawyer because I wanted to tell my story on my own. So from that point on, I studied a lot the law. I studied the way that you needed to address the attorney, the way that you needed to address the judge. It was my story, and thank God, I'm just due to myself.
Thank you so much, Mario and Mario. And the beautiful ending to this story is that the Mario David, actually, Aquino referred Mario David to Mario Fernandez and also to Holy Trinity. So we are grateful for that beautiful connection and net with the Jesuits.
Of course, that was incredible. No words.
Okay. Well, Kate, thank you, Mario.
Okay.
We are going to ask, come back to Caitlin Marie to ask for your parting word or phrase.
Sure. Well, I would just say it's maybe a little bit of a cliche at this point, but I would just reiterate the 4 verbs that Pope Francis gave us at the World Day of Migrants and Refugees 2 years ago. Welcome, protect, promote, and integrate. This should be the basis of any policy. This should be the starting point. You know, immigration is a complicated issue, and we can have a debate about what's the best way to welcome, protect, promote, and integrate. But we need to start with these 4 verbs as a universal value system upon which we build any humane, just, fair immigration policy.
Perfect. Elena, would you like to translate that? She might be muted. Okay, how about, that's a perfect segue for us to end our time together. We had planned to go for another 30 minutes to talk about what you can do and what our parishes are doing specifically, but we're going to make that a part 2 and offer it on another day. So let's move to, because obviously this has been an incredible journey, and to go around the world like this has taken longer than an hour. So let's move to our final prayer, and I believe Elena is going to read it in Spanish for us.
Okay, I will do that. Just a second. Okay, I'm here. Okay, so Padre, te confiamos a San José, a lo que consideramos lo más precioso, al niño Jesús y su madre, de manera de protegerlos de los peligros y las amenazas de los malos. Concédenos que podamos experimentar su protección y ayuda. Que Él, que compartió en los sufrimientos de aquellos que tuvieron que huir del odio, de los poderosos, los consuele y los proteja a nuestros hermanos y hermanas que están llevados por la guerra, la pobreza y la necesidad de dejar sus hogares y sus tierras para ser refugiados a lugares más seguros. Ayúdalos por la intercesión de San José a encontrar la fortaleza de perseverar. Dales consuelo en sus angustias y coraje en medio de sus pruebas y tribulaciones. Dales a aquellos que los acogen, algo del tierno amor de ese justo y sabio Padre que amó a Jesús como un hijo verdadero y apoyó a María en todo paso de su camino, para que Él, que se ganó el pan con el trabajo de sus manos, que nos vigile de aquellos que han visto todo en la vida que les ha sido robado, y obtengan para ellos la dignidad de un trabajo y la serenidad de un hogar. Te lo pedimos por Jesucristo, tu Hijo, a quien San José salvó huyendo a Egipto, y confiando en la intercesión de la Virgen María, quien lo amó como un marido fiel, de acuerdo con tu voluntad. Amén.
Amén.
Thank you. Thank you, Elena, Mario, and Hermana for your wonderful translation. And everyone, thank you for joining us.